Hey guys, I thought I'd show you a trick I figured out for the throttle linkage return spring. I saw a lot of different people trying a lot of different things, but this is one thing I did not see people try to do. So this is the original spring that goes on them, and they're very stiff, and people are trying to figure out, well, can we change the spring on it? Some people are saying they tried a different spring but it wouldn't return, and so some people are just getting rid of the spring completely and going to the other end here and putting a spring here just to give you your return, which is what we used to do in the old days. But having a return spring helps you not have a runaway vehicle. So anyway, I wanted to kind of show you, it's a little bit difficult to see, but the spring that's on there is actually off a T-maxx. Here's the original spring, and if you look at the difference, see if I can get a better angle here. The T-maxx spring is a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger spring, but it's actually a much softer spring. So what I did is I took the end of the spring, I cut it, and I stretched and I made my own loop on it, and I used this original spring as a reference to give me the length I needed. So I tried to look at how much spring I have from here to here. And then I made my loop because the T-maxx spring actually is going to be a longer spring and then have a small short loop. And it's made to go around the linkage. So what I did was I cut this, I left one side on, and then I put it next to this spring and I made it the same length as this spring, and then just used a pair of needle nose and a pair of dikes, and I just started bending and tweaking until I got an end similar to this one, and then I was able to attach it. And actually it works perfect. I can show you here just by looking at, look, I can push on it with my finger and get it to move, which you probably can't do with a normal one. I mean, you can come here and do this with a normal one, but I mean, you can see that this is different. It's got a nice amount of return, but it's not as serious as the other one. And here's the cool thing I want to show you guys. So I can give it full throttle, and I can turn my radio off. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Ready? Let's turn the radio off. And it still returns. So that's what you guys want, is for that to return. Turn it back on, and it still returns. So I've got a good return spring now, and it's not as tight as the original one. As you can see over here, it attaches the same way it always has. It's just a little bit fatter spring, and it's not quite as strong because they're able to. The problem with this spring is because it's so small, the initial strength is at the beginning, but then as you go further, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's why we have so many problems with these things getting full throttle. With a bigger spring, you actually get a more equal strength throughout the whole stretch of the spring. And so that's why you want to go with a bigger spring. So that's basically the same spring as a T-maxx, and a Jato, I believe, has that spring. As you can see, it stretches and it works good. I'm getting full throttle. I also did change my servo. This is a 645 MG, which is real close to the 2075. But this was an original short chassis, and I didn't have all the 2075s. And I decided I wanted to go a little stronger anyway with it. So I think a 2075 is 125 ounces, and this is 133, I think it is. So it's a little bit stronger than a normal one. But as you can see, I'm getting full throttle, no problem. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys was, there's one other, oh yes. I did put a hot racing throttle, an aluminum one, because I didn't want it to have any flex. Let's see if I can actually get a light in here and highlight it a little bit there. So you can see I've got a hot racing aluminum. Now I did have an issue with this when I put it on. When I put it on with the bushing underneath it, it sat too high. And I guess one of the options you could do is loosen your carburetor and try to raise it some, since the inside of the engine does have a seal, but I didn't want to risk any kind of leak. So I actually took the bottom bushing that goes underneath, and I took some 180 grit wet sandpaper and some 220, and I filed it down and I got it to sit more even. If you look at the ball on there, it's sitting nice and center in there, because at the lower section of the ball it's actually thinner, and at the upper section it's thicker. And so when I turned the bushing around, I tried to run, instead of even putting the bushing on the bottom at all, I tried to put it on the top, because I've seen some of you guys, other guys, doing that as well. But and it worked, but I did notice it was still binding a little bit, and it actually needed to be spaced up. So I actually just put the spacer in from the bottom, and I filed it down, and I got it sitting really nice. And so let's see if I can, like I showed you guys earlier, I was able to literally just push it with my hand, and it moves really nice and easy now. So yeah, that seems to be working out. I also want to recommend that you guys, you want to adjust your full throttle, because if you get 100% full throttle, this arm's going to start to bend on you, and that's why they bend. You actually want to adjust your throttle. Now I have the module in the back of my radio, and I'm able to go into my setup, and adjust my trim, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So like if I go here to my let's go to my throttle. My throttle is 95%. My brake is only 54%. And I'll show you why. Because if you hit your brake and you go any more than right there, you can see that it's going to hit on the metal piece right here. So if this is a 100% brake, this is going to come back and it pushes against this pin. And you don't want it to do that. You only have so much travel. So you only need about 50% brake. So that's where you need to get in here and adjust the adjustment here properly, so that you actually get brake. But you really don't need more than 54% anyway in my case, and then full throttle on that. I think 95% full throttle. Let's see. And what I did to make sure my full throttle was doing everything I wanted to do. What's going on here? Oh, I hit something on my radio.